The manhwa starts with a young man kneeling before a dark-haired man, professing his love, even though he knows he probably shouldn't, and the dark-haired man responds by saying that from the moment they met, he knew he would also fall for him. Then suddenly, our protagonist opens her eyes, wondering what kind of dream she just had. She figures she's been reading too many novels lately, and that's why she had such a vivid dream. As she looks around, she realizes her hands are hurting from the 4 drips she's hooked up to, and she has no idea where she is. She lets out a startled shout and some armed men rush into the room, weapons drawn, asking her what's wrong. Seeing their guns, she recoils in fear, unsure who these men are. They tell her to stay calm, but she hides behind a pillow, insisting they put their guns away while wondering if she's still dreaming. The last thing she remembers is drinking heavily the night before to celebrate finishing a big assignment. Now she's just sitting there, utterly confused about what's going on. She decides to stay calm and first try to figure out exactly where she's woken up, and then moves to the window. Looking out the window, she sees seagulls soaring and faintly hears the sound of waves in the distance, realizing with surprise that she is on an island. How did she end up here? Her panic grows as she catches a glimpse of her reflection. One of the armed men calls out, "Yeonbayal, are you all right?" She recognizes that name. It belongs to the main character from her favorite BL novel, The Boss Man. Between the guards, the island mansion, and a woman named Yeonbayal, she has an inkling of where she might be, but it seems too outlandish to be real. With a shaky voice, she asks one of the men if they are in Baekcheon. He confirms they are and asks why she is asking. She immediately rips the 4 from her hand, convinced this has to be a dream, and takes off running from the room before the men can stop her. They run after her, shouting for her to stop, but she ignores them, heading deliberately somewhere. Taking a turn, the guards realize with surprise that she seems to know her way to their boss's office, which he isn't supposed to know. Her mind races as she runs, the impossible seeming more and more real with every step. She stands in front of a door, praying she is wrong, but the door looks just as it was described in the novel. Her rapidly beating heart tells her this is all too real. She opens the door, muttering to herself that she'll find out once and for all if the boss is there. And lo and behold, Baekcheon, the boss, is present. He stands from his chair as the men apologize, saying they couldn't stop her. She takes in his black hair, tinted blue like the night sky, his eyes mysteriously deep just like on the book's cover illustration. She thinks he is so handsome it hurts her eyes, leaving her speechless, and wonders if she really is inside a novel. Baekcheon pulls out his gun, pointing it at her head, and demands how she knows about his office. She recalls from the novel that only Baekcheon and his most trusted men know of this place, so the real Yeonbayal wouldn't. His reaction is expected. With a gun aimed at her, she finally accepts she has transmigrated into this dark melodrama BL novel. It's a story where 2 rivals fall in love. One is Baekcheon, who runs what seems an ordinary financial corporation, but is actually a front for casinos, drugs, guns, and more nefarious dealings. He heads the Baekcheon syndicate, with a firm grip on the underworld. The other main lead is Yugyeom, the illegitimate son of Baekcheon's rival syndicate, Utopia. Yeonbayal doesn't understand why she's been dropped into this BL world. It makes no sense. One of the men tells Baekcheon this was a small mishap he'll take care of. Baekcheon warns that if it happens again, there will be consequences. The man starts to lead Yeonbayal back to her room, and she follows him willingly while wondering what she should do. Later, after the guards leave her alone in her room with a warning to not leave, she arrives at a conclusion, after thinking about it for an hour, that she is screwed. Her problem isn't that she is in a BL novel, but it is the fact that she is Cha Yeonbayal, who is the stepsister of Baekcheon. After their parents passed, the original Yeonbayal became obsessed with Baekcheon and turned into a villainess who did crazy things to receive his love. At the start of the novel, Cha Yeonbayal was kidnapped by Yugyeom, who launched an attack on Baekcheon. In order to punish Yugyeom for touching Baekcheon, Baekcheon personally went over to Utopia, and fell in love with Yugyeom at first sight. Cha Yeonbayal being the villainess was just a plot device for the two male leads' first encounter. After that, she dies, in the hands of Yugyeom. When Baekcheon and Yugyeom first met, the original Yeonbayal became a bridge in their relationship and was destined to die. But the new Yeonbayal refuses to meet that same tragic end. From her calculations, she doesn't think Baekcheon and Yugyeom have crossed paths yet, which means she still has a chance to change things. The most important thing is stopping Yugyeom from ever kidnapping her in the first place. The novel had a sad ending where Yugyeom died. So she decides to save him by altering the story. Yeonbayal opens her desk drawer, expecting to find paper to jot down plans. But instead of a notebook, she finds something else entirely. Later, she goes to the shooting range to practice, but to her dismay, she can't hit a single target. She wonders why she even has a gun if she's this terrible at using it. Since physical force is out, her highest chance of survival may be invoking the will of the previous Baekcheon head, which states protect Cha Yeonbayal until she turns 26. Maybe she can have Baekcheon protect her with his power. But the original obsessive Yeonbayal only did things Baekcheon hated. Will he really go out of his way to safeguard someone he sees as a burden? There's no way he'd save her, she worries. At that moment, Yeonbayal notices someone at the door and wonders who's coming. It's Baekcheon himself. He orders the men to leave them alone for an hour. Startled by his presence, Yeonbayal hides. She watches as Baekcheon shoots, his bullet hitting the bullseye. There's a reason he's the boss, she thinks. She knows she shouldn't be standing around, who knows what will happen if she gets caught. She has to leave quietly. But before she can move, a bullet whizzes past her and she yells in shock, sliding to the floor. Did Baekcheon just shoot at her? He looks at her calmly. I thought there was a rat around, he says, then asks why she seems so surprised. Didn't you come here expecting something? He accuses her of pulling crazy stunts to get his attention as he firmly grips her chin. She trembles with anger, recalling how the original obsessive Yeonbayal threw away all reason just for Baekcheon's notice. Did she really try such an idiotic ploy? It's not her fault she transmigrated into this mess. She pulls Baekcheon by the tie and tells him to listen to her closely, and then she tells him that she doesn't like him again, and she will leave Baekcheon by the end of the week, so he should prepare a farewell party for her, shocking him. She asks him if this isn't a joyous moment for him, and that he should make the farewell party the most fancy and luxurious farewell party he has ever seen. She reasons that since it is impossible for him to help her or for her to protect herself, then she has to escape the novel. She tells Baekcheon she'll leave the farewell party preparations to him as she walks away. When she steps out of the gun range, the men waiting for Han yell in surprise to see her. They start peppering her with questions, but she ignores them, continuing to walk away while screaming internally. What just happened was so scary, the glares Han shot her at the end made her feel like he wanted to devour her. But she's glad she stood her ground. Suddenly, Yeonbayal feels woozy and starts to faint. But before she can hit the ground, someone catches her. Sometime later, she slowly starts to wake, hearing loud voices. When she opens her eyes, she sees Han and two other men in a heated discussion. One man yells at Han, asking how long he neglected Yeonbayal for her to faint twice already. Yeonbayal wonders who this brightly colored stranger is. Han asks why the heir of the Du family needs to be here. The man replies he's come to see Yeonbayal, and asks if Han has a problem with that, which surprises Yeonbayal. She looks at his colorful hair and fancy clothes and calls him cotton candy. The man leans close and bluntly asks her if she has gotten uglier. Han calls him Du Shiyu and orders him to leave. Shiyu says if it's an order he has no choice, but he hopes what happened to Yeonbayal doesn't repeat itself. Shiyu leans in to whisper to her that if she wants to escape, he'll help her. Then he departs. Yeonbayal remembers that in the original novel, Du Shiyu was the heir of the Du family who was devoted to Baekcheon, but she can't recall if he featured before. She wonders if he was close to the original Yeonbayal, and if she can trust his offer to help her escape. Han brings up Yeon Baeol's supposed plan to leave Baekcheon and her demand for a farewell party. Shocking her, she'd almost forgotten he was still there. "I can't shoot a gun or work at Baekcheon, so it's time I left," she tells him. He climbs on the bed as he says that she keeps doing things she hasn't done before, and asks her if she is switching up her tactics to gain his attention. Then he touches her face as he says that he will prepare her farewell party. She tells him to show her what he can do while wondering if she just put up a new death flag. On the day of the fancy boat party bidding her farewell, Yeon Baeol has just finished getting dressed when the maid helping her comments that she looks beautiful. She also says that the outfit is a deviation from her usual provocative style, but it suits you well. Everyone will be shocked. The original Yeon Baeol always dressed promiscuously to catch Han's eye. The maid adds that Yeon Baeol that her attitude has changed a lot, and she keeps doing things she hasn't done before. Yeon Baeol recalls that that was the same thing Han said before. She thinks that he doesn't know that she is not the real Yeon Baeol, and she doesn't know what he will do now that she has changed. Someone tells Yeon Baeol that the boss, Han, is waiting for her outside, and she tells the person that she will be out shortly while telling herself that no one knows that she is not the real Yeon Baeol. She thinks that if something goes wrong, she will never be able to leave Baekcheon, and as she steps out, she thinks that she has to survive in this crazy melodramatic novel. As she steps out, she tells herself that she has to survive this. Han stretches his hand out to escort Yeon Baeol, but instead of taking it, she asks if he plans to accompany her personally, and he replies saying yes, since people are watching. She tells him that she is grateful for his offer but someone else already asked to escort her. When he asks her who, she tells him Shiyu, who she has grown closer to. Han simply says that that is a bit displeasing, and pulls her closer as he says that she is his one and only younger sister so he can't just hand her off to someone else, and then he squeezes her hand. Yeon Baeol thinks his concern seems more about keeping her under Baekcheon's control than any real care for her well-being. His obsession stems from his desire to possess everything associated with Baekcheon. Releasing her hand, Han orders his men to escort her downstairs instead. Yeon Baeol wonders why the original version was so infatuated with this man. She just needs to get through today, then she can escape this place. But before she leaves, she wants to ruin Han. In Han's office, Ji-won, his personal bodyguard, asks why Han wanted to personally escort Yeon Baeol, which is something he's never done before. He asks if Han is feeling bothered by her. Han recalls the first time he saw Yeon Baeol, 12 years ago. After his mother passed away, his father brought home a new woman who looked just like her, along with the woman's daughter, Cha Yeon Baeol. Seeing them, who he viewed as replacements for his beloved mother, filled Han with uncontrollable anger. Deep down, he knew the young Yeon Baeol was blameless, so he tried to ignore her. But the day she destroyed the rose bushes his mother had cherished. Wanting his affection, he saw her selfish desires reflected in her teary eyes. From then on, he directed all his hatred towards her. But now, her sudden disinterest makes Yeon Baeol seem like a different person entirely. Han tells Ji-won that she has successfully captured his attention. He orders him to assign someone trustworthy to monitor Yeon Baeol's every move and report back. When Ji-won brings up her planned departure, Han tells him to put Yeon Baeol's tri-pit on hold for now. Later, Yeon Baeol arrives at her lavish farewell party to find Han waiting to escort her inside. She takes his outstretched hand, wondering if he'd been waiting this whole time. She thought he wouldn't accompany her since she asked him not to. Despite having read the novel, she can't figure out what's going through his mind. As they step inside, she looks around in surprise at the incredible scale of the party. Yeon Baeol can't believe Han managed to throw such an extravagant party on such short notice. She notices the waiters all wear masks, likely to distinguish Baekcheon's staff. Ji-won whispers something to Han, and as Han starts to leave, Yeon Baeol asks if something happened. He tells her that it is nothing, and orders her not to leave Ji-won's side. She points out Ji-won is always with him, and he tells her that she can have Ji-won for the day. She glares, thinking he does whatever he wants. She'll just get through this farewell party positively, take the money she prepared, and leave, then she can do whatever she wants. She just has to avoid getting involved with the main characters ever again. As the party progresses, Han gets surrounded while Yeonbyul stands in a corner sipping wine, when a woman approaches her, saying it's been a while. Yeonbyul stares blankly at the red-haired woman, not recognizing her. The woman, who notices Yeonbyul's blank expression, asks her about it and says that her head still hurts from when Yeonbyul pulled her hair. Jiwon asks Yeonbyul if he should take care of the woman. The woman tauntingly asks Yeonbyul if she will hit her again, and calls her a lowlife who doesn't know her place. Yeonbyul thinks that she is not the real Cha Yeonbyul, but she is someone who would back down from a fight. She touches the woman's red hair as she tells her that her shabby hair reminded her of the incident. She tends to forget things she has seen so much of, and if she was unique like her she would have remembered her. Yeonbyul doesn't know what happened, but the fact that the original Yeonbyul pulled her hair and for her to dress up so extravagantly to attend a party hosted by Baekcheon must be because of Han. Grabbing her face, Yeonbyul says mockingly she's not her brother's type, and walks away, leaving the furious woman behind. As she walks away thinking that the party is about the party coming to an end soon, she suddenly trips over someone's outstretched foot, her wine glass falling. Jiwon steadies her, asking if she's hurt. She realizes she was tripped intentionally, but by whom? The waiter whose foot tripped her apologizes for his mistake. But looking at his grayish blonde hair, she instantly recognizes as the other male lead, Yugyeom, and she calls out his name in surprise. She wonders why Yugyeom is here, it makes no sense. He apologizes again, and asks her who Yugyeom is. She asks herself how Yugyeom could attend Baekcheon's party without an invitation. Since Yugyeom is an illegitimate son of Utopia, he didn't attend official events and most of the people in Baekcheon didn't know what he looked like. She tells herself to stay alert since Yugyeom is wearing a mask. He offers to escort her somewhere to treat her bleeding hand, and he takes his outstretched hand, thinking it's fine with Jiwon there. But on the way, Jiwon gets sidetracked dealing with the red-headed woman, leaving Yeonbyul alone with the disguised Yugyeom. Still, she follows, naively thinking all is well. She asks if he works for Baekcheon or is just part-time staff. He responds by saying that they don't simply allow anyone into Baekcheon. She thinks he has a way with words and plans to ask Jiwon something when she returns from the restroom. After cleaning her hands, she steps out onto the balcony, thinking she hasn't had a chance to breathe fresh air since transmigrating to this world. Gazing at the star-filled night sky, she feels like she's in a dream, sensing she's in an entirely different realm. Everything around her feels so unfamiliar, leaving her with a sense of loneliness. Yugyeom drapes his jacket over her shoulders, asking if she's all right, startling her. Apologizing for surprising her. He says she looks cold and lonely. She tells him there's no way she'd feel lonely at a party hosted by her dear brother. He remarks that it seems she and her brother are close, but she's a terrible liar. He continues, when looking into someone's eyes, he can discern truth from lies and lying is his specialty. Yeonbyul instantly recalls Yugyeom uttering those exact words to Han in the novel. At that moment, the first snowflakes begin to fall, and she wonders why events meant to transpire during Han and Yugyeom's initial meeting are occurring now with her instead. Unsure how to extricate herself, Yugyeom then asks how she, the Baekcheon princess, identified him when even Han could not. Flustered, she claps her hand over his mouth, stalling as she contemplates her next move. He asks if she's trying to remove his mask, saying he'll take it off if that's her desire, and she inwardly screams for him not to. Alas, Yugyeom removes his disguise, revealing his face while addressing her as princess. He demands to know how she recognized him as Yugyeom and if she has an informant. Panicked, she wonders if this is truly the end for her. Suddenly, an explosion violently rocks the ship, causing Yugyeom, who had been holding her hand, to release his grip. Seizing the chance, she tries to flee, but Yugyeom grabs her shoulder before she reaches the door. Whirling around, she holds a gun aimed squarely at him. Shocked, he didn't know she carried a weapon. Thinking she must escape this predicament alone, she bravely asks Yugyeom why he has infiltrated the Baekcheon event. Yugyeom grips the top of the gun, telling Yeonbaeyal he simply wants to survive this harsh world, and so far, he'll do whatever it takes to stay alive. As Utopia's illegitimate child, Yugyeom was treated as a mere tool, never receiving love. When Yeonbaeyal read about his isolated, unhappy life countless times in the novel, she fervently wished he could find happiness. There was also something she always longed to tell him. Looking directly at him, she reveals, "I know who you are because I love you." That's what I've always wanted to say. He was her favorite character in the story. Yugyeom stares at her in shock, but before he can respond, another thunderous explosion shakes the ship. Seizing the opportunity, Yeonbaeyal flees again. As she runs, she ponders that it's not yet time for Yugyeom's attack on Baekcheon according to the original plot, wondering why he's here now. The story began with the original Yeonbaeyal's kidnapping in summer. Nothing is unfolding as depicted in the novel, a deviation she doesn't believe stems from her arrival. Reaching the ship's deck, she steps through a pool of blood only to find Han amidst numerous dead bodies, and she wonders if they are Yugyeom's men. Han orders Jiwon to escort Yeonbaeyal away, while she marvels at how he could take on so many foes single-handedly. Before Jiwon reaches her, Yugyeom seizes her from behind, holding a knife to her throat. He tells Han he didn't expect the Baekcheon boss to be present personally, puzzling Yeonbaeyal, since she wonders why he'd be there if unaware of Han's attendance. She glances at Han, expressionless as he stares at Yugyeom, recalling he was supposed to fall for him at first sight in the story. Instead, Han bluntly tells Yugyeom to kill Yeonbaeyal, shocking her, though she knew Han couldn't truly protect her. To save herself, she looks imploringly at Yugyeom, asking if he's aware she loves him as she thinks that she has to escape even if it means stealing the boss's man. Yugyeom looks at her in shock and asks her if what she said is real. Yugyeom has always craved affection, something Yeonbaeyal intends to exploit. She assures him her love is genuine. At that moment, Han fires his gun. Yugyeom shoves Yeonbaeyal aside as the bullet narrowly misses them both. Han scathingly tells her she's spouting nonsense before him. Yeonbaeyal wonders if he's lost his mind, realizing he truly doesn't mind ending her life. She notices the bullet grazed Yugyeom's arm and asks why he pushed her out of harm's way. He replies, saying that he wanted to know more about why she liked him. Just then, more of Yugyeom's men arrive on the scene. Jiwon urgently tells Han these are the enemy forces and he needs to take cover, calling for Yeonbaeyal too. She glances at Yugyeom, briefly considering just abandoning him there. Before she can decide, Yugyeom asks if she'll allow him to play the gallant prince. To her surprise, he sweeps her up into his arms. "From now on, don't you dare leave my side. I have no intention of letting you go," he declares. Yeonbaeyal realizes with dismay that she's being kidnapped. Spotting Shiyu nearby, she desperately calls out for him to save her. But Yugyeom tells her to close her eyes before leaping off the boat, ominously stating she'll accompany him to his personal hell. This brings us to the end of part 1. Please comment, like and subscribe to Manhwa Nuna. Thanks for watching. Bye.